lot of times our students at any level come into this whole process of education as looking at the end, you know, the bachelor's degree, the associate's degree, and they think, oh, I can, you know, there's so much work to get from where I am to where I want to be, and they see the big chunk rather than the little chunks. And I tell them, you know, just read the first book, take the first exam, you know, do it in little steps, and by the time you realize that you've finished the class or you've finished another class and so on. I try to get them away from this idea that they often come into the classroom with that history is just names and dates and I have to memorize a bunch of stuff and it is all meaningless. So what I try to do is tell them that history is a story and that it's not about the minute details of the names and the dates. It's about understanding the story. So if you can understand the big issues of our past, then oftentimes the details will fall into place. So just look at the big picture. And I also try to give them sort of a thread that they can pull through the class, you know, because there's not many things that change that much. So if I give the big themes that they can, you know, build upon, that helps. Try to engage them, you know, with activities in class. In the fall, I'm going to teach an honors section for the new honors program, and it's going to be one of the courses in the Learning Network, the Fear and Horror Learning Network. My basic theme is, okay, how are our fears reflected in policy? For example, we're afraid of immigrants. We've always been afraid of immigrants. In the early 20th century, we were afraid of the Italians or the Eastern Europeans. Today, we're afraid of, you know, the immigration from Central and South America. So how are those fears and those concerns reflected in society, laws, behaviors, and sort of thing? So that's just one thing. Or how do our collective fears about terror, for example, how's that going to be reflected in our movies, in our literature? Well, I've always loved history. I've always loved the idea of trying to, not traditional history in that, you know, learn names and dates and that sort of stuff, but the idea that I could look at ordinary people. What I like to say is I always wanted to know how ordinary people experienced extraordinary events. You know, how did big events affect you and me, that sort of thing. Well, in general, I've come to know that there's very few things you can't recover from. You know, you can make mistakes along the way, whether that's in class or in life. You can usually recover from them. And I didn't finish my PhD until I was 40. So, you know, just don't let your mistakes stop you going where you want to go.